Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great.
Happy Tuesday, August 12th, 2025.
Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Uncensored Man podcast, everyone. We got a great show today with myself. I'm Cory, and we have the good doc on.
Only the good one.
Only the good one. What do you got for us today, Doc?
So I thought the first thing we'd talk about is this student loan thing.
Yeah. Millions are skipping student loan bills. Defiance or distress?
So a lot of people are just ignoring their student loans. They're just straight up ignoring it. Not even so much they can't pay it. They're just, fuck it.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of them can't pay it, obviously. The majority can't pay it. But listen to this. It's funny how this gets put. An increasing number of but by the way, this is from Market Watch. Arthi Swamanana, whatever thin. I can't read this fucking guy's last name. It's called More People Are Late on Both Their Mortgage and Student Loan Payments. Another bad sign for the economy. An increasing number of borrowers are falling behind both on their student debt and mortgage payments, a development that's worrying economists about the state of the housing sector and broader U.S. economy. Student loan delinquencies are rising sharply, as are delinquencies on mortgages backed by the Federal Housing Administration, according to a new report by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. The New York Fed's data indicate that 1/10 of student loan debt was reported as seriously delinquent in the second quarter of this year, meaning those borrowers were 90 days past due on payments. Analysis also shows even though FHA mortgages typically used by first-time and lower-income buyers only make up 12% of mortgage balances, the delinquency rate on those loans has been the steepest. Nearly 40% of borrowers with an FHA loan have missed a single payment.
Whoa.
A higher share than FHA borrowers who did so before the pandemic in the first quarter of 2019. Student loan delinquencies could hurt future housing demand. So anyway, it goes down to this kid, and they're interviewing like, why aren't you paying your student loans? And he's like, I just don't feel like it. He's like, I'm just ignoring it. And they're like, well, aren't you worried about them garnishing your wages? He's like, yeah, I've ignored it
Wow.
for 2 years and they haven't done anything.
That's
yeah, more and more people ignoring debt. So there's two stories there. There's this whole adolescent mindset that we talk about, perpetual adolescence. A lot of even millennials and older adults today, putatively adults, just act like kids well into late adulthood. They have a debt. They just say, okay, I'm just going to ignore it. It doesn't exist. So the idea of just avoiding your problems is a very adolescent thing to do. That's the first story, is just the general attitude. The second story is it's part of living in a collapsing society is people just stop paying debts, especially ones that aren't easily enforceable. Because as the machinery of the state slows down, in this case, the court system, where you go, someone doesn't pay a bill, you take them to collections. They don't reply to collections, then you go to court and try to get what we like wage garnishment or levy their bank account. And doing all that is so extremely expensive that in many cases, the cost legally to enforce an unpaid bill is usually way higher than the bill itself. So a lot of people don't bother. But then even if they do bother, it can take a very, very long time to work its way through the court system. And so a lot of people, what happens is people just rely on inefficiency. So they fall out of compliance with things that are seen as maybe not easily enforceable.
the fact.
So yeah, just living in a society on the downturn is, the younger generation just starts ignoring its debt, and that debt by its nature is very hard to collect. Student loan debt has always been kind of bullshit because it's a debt you can't discharge in bankruptcy. Like if you do Chapter 7 bankruptcy, what's the number one reason for bankruptcy in men in the U.S.?
I don't know.
Divorce. Divorce is
divorce?
far and away the number one precipitating factor.
Okay, I would have said
So if
credit
you
card.
file if you file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you can discharge pretty much every kind of debt you can think of, but you cannot discharge student loan debt. Cannot. In fact, if you go into bankruptcy, your student loans do
Right.
go into forbearance automatically, I believe, but you still accumulate interest even during bankruptcy. So that needs to change. You need to be able to discharge your student loans in bankruptcy. That's the most obvious legal change that needs to happen. The issue is then you'd have a lot of young people filing Chapter 7, and the bankruptcy courts are already pretty backed up as is.
Well, there's an article by AF Post, and this is an older graph. I don't know, but you had shared this with me. The share of young adults living with parents has surpassed levels seen during the Great Depression and World War II.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just an indication.
Well, that just like I said, the kids are like, fuck the debt and fuck getting a job. I'm just going to live at home, it's too expensive to live on their own.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe there's a bunch
It's a mix. It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both, but you're right. It's 90% just a cost thing. Yeah.
And the rent versus income, it used to be, income was higher than rent, and it's just the tables have turned.
Well, the rents are very high. The housing prices are high. Everything's fucking high. That's just the way that it is.
Rents have gone up like 160% since the 80s, but income, not so much, maybe 20%.
Not even
Not even
when you adjust for inflation.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it's the cost of living is going up
What
because
really triggers me is seeing people happy or acting like someone should be happy with a wage. And when I hear the wage, it's something that you would have been happy with in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, that's common.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, the attitude from the people that I see that think, people should be happy with, like, well, that's $15 an hour, like that's some amount of money. Like, what the fuck, man? You can't even make one trip to the gas station if
A
you're.
lot of younger people online complain that boomers are like that they just undercut people with salary offers and, yeah, people say that. I haven't experienced that at all.
You have not?
I haven't in general experienced the whole boomer super greed thing. I mean, my parents were boomers, but they're very generous people.
Yeah.
And so I guess they fall outside the stereotype. But I'd say at this point, it is a stereotype that the boomer generation's just seen as ultra greedy. I mean,
I would agree with that.
I think it's an unfair, broad generalization, but that's how a lot of people see it.
All right. So, in an office space in Dongguan, China, 30-year-old Shui Zhao sits at a desk from about 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., sipping tea. 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., sipping tea, chatting with colleagues, and sometimes even staying late after the manager leaves. But here's the twist. He doesn't actually work there, according to a report. In fact, he pays the company around 31 or $4.20 a day for the privilege of pretending he does, as per a BBC report. Paying to work, new reality for China's jobless youth. This is not a joke. This is the growing reality for many young Chinese adults struggling to find real jobs in a shrinking employment market, according to the report. Currently, the Chinese youth unemployment is at a stubbornly high, even at over 14%. What is a pretend office? Shui is part of an emerging, strange but true trend in China where unemployed youth paying to pretend to work in fake offices, according to the report. However, these are real spaces with desks, computers, meeting rooms, Wi-Fi, even snacks and lunch, but with no actual employer, job responsibilities, or salaries. Instead, attendees bring their laptops, apply for jobs, launch side hustles, or just soak in the structure of a daily routine. Some are simply there to restore a sense of purpose. Others use the office setting to deceive their families or even their universities. Zhao, whose food business venture failed last year, said that I feel very happy. It's like we're working together as a group, as quoted in the report.
Isn't that crazy? So they pay to just go to an office and be with other people.
Right.
That's just very interesting culturally, if you think about it. Very different from the United States.
Yeah, that is different.
People tend to isolate. This is actually one of the reasons why China's the future is they have a culture that's not self-isolating. We have a very isolated culture. You know, there was a graph that came out 3 days ago from some study showing that conscientiousness among young people has gone way down and extroversion has gone way down. So it's a pretty stark graph. I should actually send that to you. But what's happened in the last 10 years, and in particularly the last 5 years, is young people are just way more introverted in the West, in the US at least.
What is that? What's that about?
I don't know.
Is it social
You want to
media?
say it was maybe due to the lockdown situation
Lockdown?
and people getting used to being alone? People just can't stand each other in general these days. Like when we had a prolonged lockdown and a lot of people were working from home, when they first started bringing people back to the office, a lot of people just quit their job. And there were studies done at the time where they asked why did people quit their job when they're asked to come back to the office. The number one reason that people gave was they didn't want to see their coworkers, which is
That's just
funny and sad. But if you think about it, you think about most regular jobs that people have, you know, you do just expose yourself to some really mentally exhausting people, particularly if you're in like an office setting where you're dealing with many people a day. It's just, man, that's just really a very soul sucking, annoying experience.
Yeah, that is pretty soul sucking. I've been in some office situations that, I mean, I definitely feel that on all levels for real.
Yeah.
I've worked in a call center, I've worked in a bank, worked in sales offices like car sales, copier sales, cell phones. It's just this corporate world. It just makes me, oh man, it just makes me ill just thinking about it. Like, it's been a long time since I've done anything like that, but man,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it brings back PTSD for sure.
So there's something about their culture where they gravitate more towards communities. But we already kind of knew that because in Chinese culture, for example, a lot of times like elderly parents live with the younger kids. That kind of thing is way more common than in America. In America, we just throw our parents into nursing homes. You know, doing caregiving at home is seen as like very seldom do we do that anymore.
Yeah. Why? I mean, how do we foster a culture that's like that?
I don't
Where
know.
I don't know either. I mean, we're
I
just
don't
probably
care.
equipped in general. The boomers,
Yeah, I
culture,
just it's
greedy,
just it's just worth pointing out because that's just the way it is.
extreme greed.
Just
Uh,
selfishness, individualism. People don't look at the family the same way.
yeah,
But
self-centered, self-centered, which is part of what we talk about here. It's just this whole the family has eroded. I mean, it's really
another part of this story with the Chinese kids, though, paying for jobs is just the difference in shame. So in China, being an unemployed NEET is seen as shameful. Even a line in the article, you see the kids like talking about his experience paying to look like he works there. And he says that he calls his parents from there, and his parents know that it's not a real job, but they're still like happy that he looks
so
like he
like
goes
he's
to work.
giving out. And he does say in the article that they are like they stay busy, their job, like they're doing job hunting and like socializing, having
Yeah.
them.
So that's the most important thing is they're not isolated.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of parents would be happy to see their kids doing something like that over here. Just at least hanging out with other people, not just sitting at home playing video games. And
Yeah, no kidding.
it's not a healthy environment just to sit at home. And I know plenty of people that do that, that just sit around and play nothing but Call of Duty or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a very common thing these days for young men to fall into that.
Well, there's like these young men that don't even want to get their driver's license. Like, what?
It's just the adulting stuff. People put off that. Oh, they don't do adult like stuff, but also, most importantly, mentally. They don't mentally become adults.
Right.
If you owe $20,000 in student loans, I'll just ignore it.
Yes.
So it's like problems don't go away if you ignore them. But at the same time, is that really true? Because in a system where you have millions of people not paying, like, how do they really enforce it? So maybe it's actually a high IQ move.
Maybe what's going to happen? I mean, are they going to? I don't know. What are they going
That's
to
the
do?
thing about the crazy clown world society is you can neglect something that you would otherwise be considered responsible for taking care of, aka your debts. You can just neglect it out of sheer personality flaw and denial and thinking it'll disappear if you ignore it. All very, disordered ways of dealing with the world, and then get rewarded for it in clown world somehow. Maybe there's student loan forgiveness, whatever. Imagine if they pass student loan forgiveness and you're the sucker who just made the last, $4,000 payment on his $90,000 optometry degree.
Hmm.
So when anything can happen.
Right.
Anything can happen in these times. That's why they're is so extremely dangerous and so extremely interesting and so extremely depressing.
Yeah. Or the inverse could happen. Should automatic garnishments kick in after 90 days of missed payments with federal benefits tied to repayment status? Ouch. I could see that happening too. I mean, it could go the other direction.
But they start widely enforcing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be enforced, but it's
Well,
just more interesting that a lot of people are ignoring it mentally because they're checked out. And then maybe there's also some people in there that say, well, the government's really inefficient these days. Maybe they just won't be able to collect.
yeah, I don't know about that. They'll try.
That mindset. Well, it's risky. It's a high risk thing to do. It's
Plus,
a high risk thing to ignore taxes and not file tax returns. But you know what? People do it every year. You know what the number one profession is for doing it, I heard, is chiropractors. I heard an IRS agent told me once that she did a project at her IRS field office where they went back to all the people that didn't file tax returns in the last 3 or 4 years and like actually dug deep on them and like went through the process to start to like levy things and like levy their bank accounts or carry out tax liens or whatever. These are people that just didn't file income taxes at all, but they have
right.
credit cards, they have houses, they have assets, things like that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I wonder who the number one people are that don't file taxes. She said it's chiropractors.
That's odd.
Chiropractors. So high earning people. So there nothing against chiropractors, by the way, but it's not like garbage truck drivers, right? Like wouldn't expect it to be like a high income earner. But think about the mindset that it takes to do that. Oh, I'm a high income earner. I'm just going to ignore filing taxes completely because that's dangerous to not file taxes. What's funny is in the US system, to go to jail for tax issues, you either need to just not report things or be fraudulent in how you report things. You actually don't really go to jail for not paying taxes. You go to jail for committing fraud or for basically just not filing anything. But they don't really throw people in jail for not paying. Now, though, they will do other shit. They'll levy your bank account, they'll come after your assets, but all that stuff takes a long time. There's a huge process behind it. Eventually, they need court approval. Courts are backlogged.
Mm.
There's less people working in this particular area, so, but that's the calculus people make every year is fuck it. The IRS will just ignore me. And these are people with a lot to lose, but the society is crazy because it rewards that behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, when you do something stupid and high risk, you should be punished for it by society. At minimum, you should not be rewarded for it, right?
Right.
You should not be rewarded for it. But you do get rewarded for it if they just can't enforce it. Then you're an idiot if you pay your loans, taxes, whatever. If it's unenforceable, then
Well, the thing about the student loans, though, is if you don't pay those, this could affect your credit. I mean, some people don't care about that, but like if
yeah,
you
and
hear
some
about,
people don't care about it.
like you could have, say you do have $50,000 to $90,000 of student loan debt looming over your head, and you haven't made a payment. I mean, your credit scores are going to tank. How's that going to affect you?
Uh huh. Well, it does tank their credit score, but like you said, a lot of them don't care.
So then you just go to a cash. Basically you're going to a cash system at that point. Just living month to month or whatever.
The fact that it's happening is the thing that's really interesting. It says the economy is way worse than it is.
Doc lived in Monterrey, Mexico, a major industrial and cultural hub in the Northeast, set in a valley surrounded by the Sierra Madre Oriental Mountains near the U.S. border. It's known for its dramatic mountain views, modern skyline, and a mix of cosmopolitan and deeply traditional Mexican culture. Tell us about that.
I want to tell the full story of my whole 7 months in Mexico because I think I have a lot of like interesting, it's definitely entertaining stuff.
7 months?
Every other week, 7 months. Yeah. From November to the end of May.
Tell it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to right now. I want to tell it in pieces if that would be interesting to people.
Well, give us
What
a
I
little.
learned is I learned that foreign women are way easier and more pleasant to date than American women.
Now, is that for everyone or just gringos?
Just for me. I didn't even know about gringos in general. I would imagine it's easier for people in general, but for me, it was easier. My Spanish didn't get as good as I thought it would, but yeah, I primarily I did had some work stuff and some research stuff that I was doing down there. Monterey is a very big industrial area, and it's right across the Santa Catarina River. Is San Pedro Garza Garcia, which is like the richest area of Latin America. It's beautiful. You go there, you think you're in like fucking Singapore, not Mexico. They have like Bentley dealerships and Jaguar and like all this crazy high end stuff. It's where all the high income, super rich people live and where they shop. And that's where I was every other week for 7 months. And I did a lot of dating there. Obviously, that was like a really prime objective for me. And I don't know, just right from the get go, it was a very good and different experience. Very good and different experience.
But you were working down there?
Yeah, I was acting as a consultant for some other doctors that were there at the time. I was doing some stuff that I can't actually talk about since it's under a non disclosure agreement. But yeah, that's what I was doing.
Interesting. Anything bad? Like, this sounds
It's
pretty
amazing.
good.
It's amazing just how much cheaper it is there versus here and how low the cost of living is. Like, one thing in Latin America is like if you meet a girl on a dating app, it's pretty common that they'll ask you to buy them an Uber to get to wherever you're going to meet them for a date. Like, that's totally normal. The Ubers cost like $5, $6.
That's crazy. Over here,
It's
they'll be
no
like
big deal.
$30 minimum.
So yeah, my
Yeah.
Uber bill was huge, but yeah, Mexican girls are so different than American ones, man. That's just crazy. But living in a different culture was also just interesting. Learning Spanish. My Spanish still needs much more improvement, but it is important. I think guys should learn another language. It's a pretty important thing to do. And learning another language is important, by the way, because if you are ever contemplating like a major decision, actually thinking about that decision or journaling about it, whatever, in your non-native or non-mother tongue actually makes you more logical.
Really?
Yeah, it brings out more logical thinking. So if you use your mother tongue to cogitate about it, you're much more likely to come to an emotional decision. So that's another reason to learn another language,
Interesting.
you know. But
What's another
yeah,
good reason?
another good reason is you can talk to the mamacitas. But actually, I think I've shared before, going on dates, even if you can't speak the chick's language, isn't that big of a deal with the modern translator apps, which are almost instantaneous.
They're pretty good.
And actually, using an app to talk to a chick, like, is it makes it more intimate, weirdly, because you get kind of close to them and you use more your body language intentionally.
Interesting. I could see that.
And yeah, it also works just because when they get frustrated, they touch you, like Latinas do that. So a lot of times they'll try to communicate with you, and yeah. So there's all kinds of reasons why the translator date is never a no go. That shouldn't be a big deal. A lot of girls get kind of scared about it though. So you know, don't tell them you don't speak any Spanish. Otherwise, they get too nervous.
Yeah, I
But
could
yeah,
see
they're
that.
sweeter. They're more kind. They're women though. At the end of the day,
Still women. Yeah, of course.
yeah.
I wonder how
But I
they
was
are
in
with.
Mexico, and then I spent a month in El Salvador.
Yeah, how was that?
El Salvador was beautiful. I almost got to meet President Bukele. I'm just kidding. I was there. I stayed near the Palacio Nacional, and he was over at their equivalent of the Federal Reserve Bank or the National Bank, whatever, near where I was staying. And I asked one of his guards, I'm like, hey, can I meet him? And they're like, fuck off, gringo. I mean, they were more polite than that, but there were like a million soldiers, man. It was
Mhm.
cool. And the women there were also very kind, and it was also more pleasant dating there too.
Do you think they're more kind towards gringos than their own? Like,
No idea. They do like gringos though.
yeah.
In Mexico, especially for the girls that are upper class, which I dated a lot of them because, like I said, I was near San Pedro. For a lot of them, it's unsaid. They don't talk about this, but dating a older white man is like it's kind of like a status symbol thing for them.
Over here, it's like a creepy thing.
No, they love it. They love it. They'll show you off to your family and stuff. I remember I was seeing a chick for several months there and met her family. She was very poor though. Bro, her house looked like a fucking shack from Far Cry 3. That's how crazy it was. Her family parties were huge. It was fun.
That's
Not
cool.
as now this girl spoke like no English at all.
Ooh,
No English.
no English.
Yeah, so you have to learn some Spanish, whatever you improvise. But trust me, it works. It's fine. It's almost better if you can't communicate because then you just don't talk as much. Like I prefer less talking.
Trump considers reclassifying marijuana at federal level. The administration is reportedly exploring changes to marijuana's federal classification, potentially easing restrictions. This could impact legal, medical, and economic landscapes across states with varying cannabis laws. That's the last point.
So marijuana does need to be rescheduled because right now, technically, it's legally prohibited substance, no different than cocaine. It's called Schedule One. So, but it's legalized in a lot of states. So, a lot of states decided, "Fuck you, federal government. We're going to legalize it." Or first they decriminalized it, then they outright legalized it. In
Yeah.
Colorado, for example. So, the fact that there are so many states, including South Dakota, where cannabis is legal, sometimes you need a medical exemption for it. But regardless, the fact that it's still illegal federally, but legal in so many states just shows you how irrelevant the federal government is,
That's pretty
actually.
wild. That is
So
wild.
they really do have to reschedule it, if for no other reason than to maintain legitimacy, because there's so many federal mandates and laws that states increasingly are going their own way. Like another prime example is on immigration. This is one of the flashpoints in California. Like a lot of state and city governments don't cooperate with immigration, with ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, even though federally they're obligated to. And so there's lots of, and then you have red states pass laws that they're not going to enforce certain federal gun laws. There was even a law, I don't know if it was in Kansas or Missouri, a state law that said any federal officer trying to enforce unconstitutional gun laws will be arrested. That was like a law in Missouri. I don't know. I think it actually did get passed. So this is just part of that. It's the marijuana is already actually being produced in greenhouses around the country, yet it still technically remains illegal. So in order to alleviate the uncertainty associated with where marijuana stands legally, they definitely need to just reschedule it.
Most definitely.
I mean, otherwise and people who are opposed to that, it's not going to really change much of anything other than, well, I guess it could lead to more investment in cannabis and wider adoption. But right now, as it stands, as an illegal substance, and a lot of states are just ignoring that completely.
What is your take on? I mean, obviously, you just said we should reclassify it. So,
yeah, I think cannabis should just be a legal substance.
It should be legal.
Yeah, I think it should just be legal. I don't think it should be controlled.
Right, just like alcohol.
Yeah.
Just go to the.
I mean, I think it should be restricted to 21-year-olds and older.
In
unlike
dispensaries
tobacco,
or over the counter, just like anywhere.
I don't think all dispensaries do is add a layer of fake expertise or professionalism. In reality, the people that work at dispensaries are no different than gas station clerks. Like, it's not like they're fucking pharmacists there. So I don't see why you would need to mandate it be sold out of dispensaries, but that'd be a way states would like that because it gives them a whole tax regime for licenses related to that.
Oh man, all this, all the red tape.
Federally, they should leave that up to the states. That should just be left up to the states. But you're seeing this all over. This is just an example of, the states are going to increasingly go their own way. This is part of the collapse narrative, is that states eventually become autonomous or regions of states, and ignoring federal laws and codifying laws that contradict federal laws, which is what the legalized cannabis states have done. That's becoming more common. That's why you see these Republicans pushing for federal laws on abortion. The blue states are going to probably just ignore those, truthfully.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we're already ignoring them right now.